Welcome, Daniel, Uncle Kev, HDOP, and Arnold. Good to see you guys. Let's wait a little longer for some people to join. My trading view must be broken. QQQ is red on the day. This can't be right. Yeah, that must be a glitch. Must be a glitch. What is gold doing? Okay, interesting. Gold and BTC looking pretty similar, both potentially in a POI. Welcome, Astral, Kijos, Parabuteo, Lise, and Zlatan. Good to see a lot of the same faces again. Okay, let's start with Bitcoin. First, zoom out a little bit. Okay, wait, this is all internal. So let me first grab another chart, which is clean. Right here. So yesterday, crazy sell-off. We during the stream discussed how often these slow bleeds turn into liquidations, which also happened yesterday. We had a slow bleed and then started hitting liquidations, and now quite a lot of yeah, you saw a lot of more of forced selling, which means longs getting wiped out, and overall we are starting to see some sort of sweep, sweep, sweep. But we have to keep in mind that the bigger picture is still bearish. So be careful with longing the first move. We now have a 1 hour bullish boss, but you have to keep in mind that a 1 hour bullish boss against a super strong downtrend is like, it's like the first sign of some strength. But overall, if you zoom out to the big picture, for example, the 4 hour, this is oftentimes not enough for a big reversal. What can price do? Of course, from here it can push up, but what I'm waiting for more, like internally can play some scalps, but overall, most of the times, either you make a new low and then push, and then eventually you get some sort of a range right here, and that is the higher probability place I'm waiting for. But we are at a pretty interesting level, high time frame, because if we just zoom out and see this as a big range, just range low, range high, and pull the volume profile from that full range, then price has now cleared a lot of liquidity. I believe there's quite a lot of difference between Binance and USDT again. Here we took out this low. Okay, that's pretty similar. That's better. But we reached the point of control and the value area low. So this is a pretty big level. So if we're gonna expect a bounce, it could happen from this level. However, if we look at just the 4 hour, then yeah, this is just obviously still super bearish. And there's no structure to confirm anything much yet. And this is also the last level defending price from going towards the all-time, or not the all-time low, but the low at 59k. Because if you look at the volume profile, then value area high is here, and then we have most of the volume traded right here, where we just bounced off the value area low. But below the value area low, there's no clean demand zone, and there's also little to no volume. So yeah, this is pretty like an in-between zone in no man's land, basically, where we have pretty big gaps above, but also below there's nothing right here. So this is a place where you want to be very careful with trying to catch anything, because context wise you are in the middle of nowhere. There's gaps above and a lot of room below, where if buyers do not hold price here, it can also just very quickly roll down further. There is a lot of FUD going around with MT Cox is selling or moving a lot of coins again. Sailor is potentially in big trouble. Maybe I can later send some over from that, but yeah, he started selling to keep his scam alive, but yeah, he's in a bit of trouble. So it could be that he has to sell more, but all of those FUD news often also arrives when the market is already quite low. So that's not unusual to see. But the high time frame, yeah, it doesn't look too good. Sell pressure is big, and low time frame, yeah, this can go both ways. We can bounce from here, we can also go lower. But overall, I expect just maybe a range to be formed here and then eventually further down. So high time frame, yeah, not too much to talk about here. Needs a lot of time in development for a high probability setups to appear. But low time frame, we do have some interesting levels. So we kind of made a tree drive. It's not a good one, but you can see there's a tree drive. And right now we have two pretty clean demand zones. So we have one right here created at the low and one above. And very locally you can, which is, we did now push into my POI. And this is very, very locally. But if you pull your range from here to low, then technically you can see this as your starting point. 1, 2, 3, break, price taking out the low again. So here you basically have a model 1. Then you have your 1, 2. So then you can look at it. Does this model 1 that flew over into a model 2 turn into potentially a model 1 right here? So this is like a super local range, but the range is being respected nicely. So you see first a model 1, then potentially model 2. So right now I would like to see another dip into this demand. We can pull it a little higher. And then if we get some structure to work with, I'm pretty interested to just play this local range back to the high. And that could turn into maybe bigger reversal towards this high, which is the more important one. This is the local play I can see develop. And this demand also should hold. If that demand does not hold, then I think pretty big chance we just return to the lows. So let me see if we do have something to work with. Yeah, so this move down into the potential third tap so far doesn't have any structure on the 1 minute. So this is just down. So we cannot confirm an entry right here because our structure is up there. So that's why I also would like to see a new low, tap into that demand, and then we can potentially look at it from a model 1. So then what I would like to see is this to mitigate demand, give new structure to work with in the form of this, and then it can be long. So in which this is our third step, break of structure back to bullish, and we can watch where is our value area low. We are also near the daily VWAP, which is a POI. Where is the value area low? Yeah, for now it's pretty high up, so I'm not too eager yet, but tap into this demand and it got my attention. Other than that, I don't see too much on BTC yet. And I still think this is just the starting point of a potential new range. But we should not forget, like here above, I drew some of those VWAPs. But you can see this is basically just sell pressure with a lot of VWAPs above. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prices below all of them. So playing an accumulation, you only want to do that if it's super clean. What is even more likely, in my opinion, is that maybe even if this turns into a local model 1, that we go up, sweep that liquidity from this high, and if we then get a bearish boss, then I think that can even be a short back to the low, and that is our new structure. So this is super local play, but overall price is just seems to be cooling off a bit after that crazy selling since yesterday. So let me quickly look at the order flow, what that is showing us. Welcome Sido as well. Good to see you. Okay, let us load first on the 30 to just see a bit what. Like, so first we had that slow selling where I said it's better to wait for some aggression. Otherwise, there's no reason for price to return. And right now you can see, let's clear this up, those delta bubbles, which basically show aggressive market buying or selling. They are now appearing around this level. So it shows that this is a pretty interesting level where at least some big buying and selling is happening. And that's often where you get some better trading opportunities. You don't want to enter in a slow bleed like this where nothing is basically happening. But right now we get some action, so that's better. Open interest wise, yeah, it's just neutral, nothing really happening. So no aggressive shorts, also not a big reset of anything. CVD is just going down. Spot is, yeah, overall also going down a little bit of a pickup since the low. And delta, not too much. So 30 is not super interesting. We can look at the 5 to see the daily picture. So we currently are around the daily point of control. We did take out yesterday's point of control right here, and basically now just kept between these levels. As said, it's not really a clean POI. So the model I'm looking at, it's like really local. But yeah, if there is a trade today, that is the one I'm looking at. So let's see if we get that move and then get a confirmation. Could be a trade, but it's definitely not a high probability trade. Kijos heat map looks good at 6850 for a magnet today. Yeah, I already imagined it was 68,000. Like 6.8k, that would be wild. Then Sailor selling his full stack in one go probably. Let's see, I can have a look at the for heat map. Yeah, so I'm not at the heat map by the way, but this is the liquidation heat map. What catches my eyes more is that we have quite a lot of bright, which means that there's a lot of liquidations down here, which are likely long liquidations, after making a new weekly low. So those are at 60, just below 65. Yeah, so that would mean that quite a lot of long liquidations are still resting below this low, which also act as a magnet eventually. So I think in the end, if price is already this low and the trend is down, that they will also take that out later. So that's below 65. If we also take into account just the weekly statistics, then the current weekly low is on Wednesday, which is very unlikely to put your weekly low on Friday on Wednesday. So oftentimes you see new lows later in the week. So what it tells me is that if we get this and we get the trigger, that it can give that reversal higher, but here I think we reverse and then maybe into new lows later in the week and then potentially reversal. But overall, yeah, market is pretty in a tough spot right here. But let's see, we can just follow the local rules and see if we can get a little bit of relief and then short it from later on. Looking at USDT, we finally completed the Wyckoff Model 1. So we have been looking at this for a super long time, and then broke structure here, which was the confirmation of the Model 1. This was our protected low, target the range high, and we had a super clean 4-hour uptrend, which was never been broken, and now we cleared out the range high. So the technical target of the Model 1 has been hit, and we came into that refined supply right there, where we found some resistance. But on the high time frame, we should not forget that like this is super strong. Especially this last move, we have just high, higher low, higher high, higher low, boom, higher high. A lot of imbalances. So on the bigger picture, our market structure low is all the way down here. While on the lower time frame, it is getting a bit more interesting. What first catched my eye was this 12-hour potential topping formation. 1, 2, potential 3. Then you kind of have a model 2 on your hands here on the higher time frame. So that is what has my attention. Also because this is the refined supply. So if we took out range high into refined supply, if we're gonna find some sort of reversal, it could be from here. But we should not forget this is super strong. This is so going against it is still the lower probability play. But there are some signs of early weakness, which is that we broke hourly structure back to bearish right here. We mitigated this demand, which was 45-minute demand, and are now pushing up. So what I'm looking at is we have an imbalance right here, which is a BOI, basically single prints. We have supply right here on the 15 weird, very weird 30-minute candle, but 50-minute supply right here with also this imbalance. So what I can see is also that price comes up into here, then forms a lower high, and that would align with that 12-hour topping pattern I just shared. And that could give the reversal down to like lower levels. But keep in mind, high time frame is still super bullish, so this can just be a higher low for a higher high. But if we're gonna see a reversal, I think it's from around those levels. So that is what I'm mainly watching. And keeping that in mind, the local play I was just looking at, it's super low probability, so I'm not too eager to take it. If I watch this, in my opinion, this is more likely, which if we reflect that to BTC would be more like this. So this super local play could work. I'm keeping an eye on it, but it's not really in alignment with what I'm watching on USDT. So these levels are interesting. So let me put in another alert and see what happens from there. And then we can potentially get some relief later in the week. So it can be maybe today, it can also be tomorrow that we form at lower high. And of course, this is also like we broke 1-hour structure, but there is not even 2-hour structure. So this can also, if we don't reject here, also make a new high. So keep that in mind. The upside here is super strong. Downside on BTC is super strong. So longing it is definitely counter context. Let's see, question. Welcome, Philip, by the way. Good to see you. Uncle Kev, if we trade a mid-time frame Model 2 range, on what time frame do you usually want to see a boss on tap 2 in order for you to be interested in trading the third tap? Model 2. On what time frame do you usually want to see a breaker structure on tab 2 in order for you to be interested in trading the third tab? Not really based on time. It's more about the structure. So I don't really look too much at what time frame is it, but more is the structure clean? And it can be on either time frame, but I think you are right now, let me draw it, say here. Let's say, let's do it down and it's a bit cleaner. Right there. So that, oh, we talk about the model 2 distribution, right? So let's say we trend down, low, we have high, we have mid-range. Then this tuk tuk tuk. So this is the lower high. Then this is tab 1. This is tab 2. And I don't really look at it from like on what time frame is the break, but more is there clean structure right here. So in this case, you have high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, break. To me, this break, that is what matters. Not really on which time frame it is, but more like, is this break of structure clean? If that break of structure is clean, then I'm looking for a lower high. If that got reconfirmation, then this is the clean model 2 short I would look at. Where most people go wrong is that the model 2 doesn't have, or the tab 2 doesn't have a clean break. So let's say we have low. And then you have this, maybe a small pullback there, then a pullback, and that people then look for the model 2. But this is where a lot of people go wrong, because this is a super tiny pullback, and overall this strength into your second tab is mostly showing a lot of strength. So then this can also be like high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So for me, the time frame does not really matter. It's more, is there structure from your the start of your tab 2 into your tab 2? Do you have a clean boss there? Then I'm looking for the model 2. If you have this where you almost don't have a pullback, then I'm not interested in model 2, because then this can just be high low, high high. Yes, mate, that missed. Yeah, and that is where a lot of people go wrong. But you need this clean break. Without this clean break, don't even look at the model 2. Then you can look at the model 1, which could confirm it. But the model 2, at least how I approach it, I only look at the model 2 if you have a super clean break in leading into your tab 2. Break that, which means that this is likely your high. Then you can look for the model 2. But the move into your second tab, that tells everything basically. And this is it's a good question, definitely a good question. And this is what I've been recording a lot of videos today. So I can give, look, this is what I've had in my tab. So the videos are being recorded where I explain all of this. What is a good model 1, what's a good model 2, aka the Wyckoff videos are in the making, and they will be good. So there everything will be answered, but very good question, because I've seen a lot of people go wrong with the model 2. And then the danger of that is that you trade the model 2, that one gets stopped out, then you look for the model 1, that gets also stopped out, and then it just continues. And then you have 2 losses, which you could have avoided by just waiting for market structure. And that is why the market structure is always most important for me. Yes, what Kijos is saying. I've made also that mistake so much, only thinking of the tabs, but not looking at structure. Yes, and that is like that's why I always am so big on market structure, because that tells you everything. Because what a lot of people do is that if you have, for example, an uptrend, and you only look at it from, okay, we are in an uptrend, so I pull my range from high to low, and then price takes the high, then your mind automatically thinks, oh, we take the high, okay, that has to be a distribution. But not forgetting that the high time frame is in the uptrend. So it's logical for price to take out the high, because that is what price does in an uptrend. And if you only look at it from, oh, this has to be tab 1, tab 2, okay, I'm gonna look for the model 2, then you short it on a 1 minute break, you get stopped out, then you watch for the model 1, also gives a 1 minute break, you try it again, and then get stopped out again. Then you have 2 losses here, which is painful. While if you just look at structure, this can just be high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And then you are fighting the trend. So the videos I'm now recording, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that context is super important. So in the uptrend, focus on accumulations. In a downtrend, on distributions. And pay a lot of attention to the way price moves into your tab 2. That tells already a clean story. And a lot of other stuff. So I'm definitely paying attention to that. And I think it will save people from a lot of avoidable mistakes. How many timeframes of market structure need to align for you, or does it depend on the situation? Yeah, it depends a lot on the situation and the context around it. But yeah, like oftentimes when it's clean, it's clean. If it's not clean, it's not clean. It sounds a bit weird, but if the structure is clean, everything is clean, then it will be obvious. But it also comes with a bit of experience, obviously. So what is clean for me is not clean for everyone. So sometimes it's a bit hard to explain, but yeah, we will get into that. In the meantime, we still have not made a new low, so this is still a market structure high. So that means no trade. Then I want to quickly go over gold, because that reached the POI where we had range low, now that sweep, and we tapped into this demand with the FIB confluence. So we know that last week we had that 4-hour breaker structure right here. So oftentimes when price flips such an important level, then it can give a retrace. But if it wants to say bullish, oftentimes then if it's really bullish, it also already forms a high low at the 0.618. But like the 0.7278 is like the last line of defense to put in your higher low. So either you put in your higher low there, or if you go lower than that, then it's already showing a lot of weakness, and then more times than not you return to the low. So that's why this was my main PY on gold, and currently we are in it. So it's a bit of a similar case to BTC, but this range is higher time frame and looking better. So we have tab 1 at the low, tab 1 at the high. Here we took out the low, pushed back in the range, fell at tab 2, and now we have a new low, mitigating that demand right into the FIB. So this is a super clean PY. Potential model 1, although these tabs are pretty close to each other, especially in relationship with tab 1 and 2. But here again, I don't really look at what is the structure in here. So you can look at it like we have 45-minute structure. But for the rule, it's important because then you need that break above. But to me, it's more like I see structure, low, lower high, lower low. This is for me most important. Just what is the obvious structure? Then in this case, it's this high. So right now we need to break that high to validate this as the potential invalidation. then higher low, higher high. Because tab 1, tab 2 and 3 are pretty close to each other, and this range is a bit doubtful if it's a range, because it can also just be downtrend, where this could be just lower high, lower low. So then for extra confluence, I always like to put on the volume profile to see where is our val. And then price is right now at the val. Okay. Overall, this still looks pretty weak to me, so I'm not really interested in trading this until we get strength. Push above, then I will be interested in a play like this. Until then, it doesn't look too good to me. So I'm just waiting for that boss. If we get a good boss, then I'm gonna look, is there a way to get in? Until then, this could just slow bleed down further as well. So let's see. Alert is set. BTC not doing anything interesting. For interest, XEG only has 2 tabs. Okay, quickly looking at XEG. I haven't looked at it in a while. Mm, Well, supply did its work. Okay, let me quickly delete these to just have a fresh view. Oh yeah, we are in that bigger range. A lot of liquidity below. And then you also have to ask yourself, like, where is the range formed? Like, this is a super clean range. Then you can oftentimes price forms internal ranges, but as I always say, more often than not, they are used as traps, just to trap traders like us before going back to the extreme. So in this range, basically your playground is always your extreme demand, extreme discount, and extreme premium. Doing business without outside of those zones, so in the middle, is always more dangerous. So that's one thing. We are below multiple VWAPs, and I will pull my range here like this, where this is first a bit of exhaustion. Tab 1, tab 2. I see that we have demand left behind, which is the Model 2 POI then. Tab 1 at the high, tab 1 at the low, tab 2 at the low. Price is trending down, so an accumulation is against the context, so then it has to be really clean. But a 1 hour demand right here is pretty clean. So depending on how this develops, could get interesting. But that is why it's so important to zoom out, because if you only look at this, then you think, oh, Model 2 makes a lot of sense. But if you are a market maker, does it make much sense to accumulate here if you have a lot of liquidity right below that? So then you can watch it more like it could happen, of course. If you get your confirmation, you trade it. But then I would look more like it that the purpose of the accumulation here is to mitigate supply and then take out the lows again. Because eventually they will likely want price back to these levels. At least that's what I think. Can you look at Sol? Yeah, I will look at Sol. Low time frame range I'm looking at is from Monday. So low time frame range maybe. Yeah, I don't think that's a good range to look at. from this one or this one. That this is the range. Yeah, like the problem with that is that you then have an internal range in an internal range within a bigger range. So then it has to be really, really, really clean. Otherwise you are, yeah, it's often internal is already dangerous, and internal in an internal, that is even more. Yeah, less probability. Let's see, last thing I've been checking the high time for each bit, the time space becoming a bit long. Is that something that matters or not? 45 days between step 1 and 2, and it's been 72 days since step 2. Yeah, it's indeed getting long drawn out, but it doesn't matter too much. What could be is that this was a super strong move down, that this is what they call the spring, I believe, and that this is then your starting point. That this is not your tab 1, but that this is actually your tab 1. That could also be, but then eventually it still comes down to the same, that likely they want price down here. Let's see, Zlatan. Bro, is it possible to go quickly over the 4-hour market structure on gold? 4-hour internal is bullish, main 4-hour market structure is bearish, and main SFP of the high, which makes things very confusing. Let's look. Let's go to a clean one. Oh. Four-hour. Yeah, so we can start all the way up here. We can also just start here. It doesn't change a lot. So we have downtrend, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, break. Yeah, and we swing filled this one. Yeah, that's why it indeed makes it a bit ugly. Because this moved up, broke for our structure, super clean. But here it just swing filled that high and took all liquidity. So that is why it could also just be a liquidity grab before continuing further down, which is why at the current level where price is, in my opinion, it needs to hold. Otherwise, this was just likely a very nasty relief to get out some shorts, grab liquidity, and then continue down. So market structure is indeed a bit confusing, but yeah, that just means that you need to be, if you want to long it, it has to be super clean. But it's indeed a bit confusing with that 4-hour bullish break, which just swept a lot of liquidity, and then can turn into a reversal as well. So yeah, for gold, I need that break. If we don't get that break, I'm not interested. And even if we get a break, I want like clean demand be created and then look for potential longs. If it falls lower from here, then I will not be surprised if it's just a full retrace back to the lows. So pretty like an inflection point, either bull step in here, or it just likely returns and gives a full reversal, which would be a nasty move, but it can happen. BTC not doing anything. Okay, I will quickly go over Sol first and then the other assets. So my view on Sol is that we have this high time frame range, the ultimate wick, a high, sweep of the high, basically a two-tap model and a break lower. You can also draw your range from high to low right there, and that we just took out the low. But since we are in a high time frame downtrend, the most valid way is to pull it from range low to high. Price took out all the sell side liquidity, and now we only have like this massive wick remaining where there's no volume at all. So there's nothing to hold price up down here. So this is a bit similar as BTC. You have like a big bearish fair value gap above you and basically nothing but air below you until the range low where demand is resting as well. So yeah, it's a bit in between. And price is also below your value area low while having clean supply right here, which is like 3-day. We have 3-day supply with the value area low. So until-proven otherwise, this is major supply, likely lower high for low low. More locally, like to keep the trend intact, I also like to just pull some VWAPs so that you don't be blinded by, oh, I need to catch the reversal. Just remind that every move here, like you can see VWAPs just as institutional like bots. They are respecting the trend. They always respect the trend. So you can see this as selling pressure coming down, selling pressure coming down. Maybe if we even look at where did the week start, right here, and we pull it from there. Look, big selling pressure. So trend is definitely down. We had a 2-hour break, I believe. No, 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour SFP, then a break. But again here, how significant is a 1 hour break if you have a super strong downtrend? And context-wise, where are you? You are basically in the middle of nowhere. So the only way I would trade this from a long side is if I get a clean accumulation on my hand, which would technically could be, would I say this is my starting point? That technically is valid. But then you have, then it looks more like price is now distributing again. If you look at it from low high, then this is your tap 1, tap 1, tap 2. This one left behind clean demand, so that's a nice POI to potentially look at. But here, this looks more like 1, 2, 3, break. And that would signal that we just had a redistribution in confluence with the main trend for at least a move back to here. So I'm not interested in trading it like this short. I'm also not really interested in trading the short. The model 1 is not really clean, but to me this gives more redistribution vibes than anything else. So personally, I'm only interested in trading it if we reach this demand for potential accumulation, or if we get like a bigger relief and short it from higher up. But if we look at the bigger picture, yeah, it's basically in the middle of nowhere. So context-wise, that's not the best. So I would now just look at this local range and look how that develops. Are your VWAP settings somewhere in the Discord? No, but they are technically just the regular. So if you in indicators search for VWAP, then I have it just on session. And this one is HLC/3. That's just the basic one, I believe. And then I put out the other ones. So oftentimes you have this And then this is your VWAP, and yeah, then it looks like some sort of crazy thing. So I always have that off. So I only have the middle band, which is then just your daily VWAP, which is basically just showing you what is the trend. Are you above the VWAP? Then technically it's bullish. Are you below it? It's bearish. Do you chop around? Then you are in a range. And the other ones are the anchored VWAPs, also the ones automatically used from TradingView. And there the only thing is, if I pull it from a low, then I put it on source. So this is, I have these two, and then source is low if you pull it from the low. And if you pull it from a high, then the source is high. Source, high. And they show you kind of what the trends are. Basically, for me, it's an improved version of the EMAs, just to see what is the trend, where's price, is it above it, below it, does it respect the VWAPs, yes or no. That shows you kind of what the trend is. But yeah, Sol, not really interesting. Hype, fucking interesting. And it did exactly what I wanted to see yesterday, but it did not give me my entry. So the first one was yesterday that we had this distribution, 1, 2, 3, 4, technical target, this range low. So I wanted to short this move, but I was waiting for this extreme liquidity to be taken. So before that, price already broke structure and then took out the lows. So that short was missed. But my main idea was to see a move into where we had it. We had super clean demand down here. Yeah, basically this whole block was range demand because you broke structure back to bullish right here. Strong move. So then this whole zone technically turns into range demand. So a retest of that was where I was interested in a bounce for a long. We also had a daily point of control, and that got mitigated and then pushed higher. But it did not give an entry. It was also overnight. But it broke internally back to bullish. And right now, I just see this as a new range. Range high, range low. But it does not always mean that you need to take out the low again, because we are in a high time frame bullish context. We retested range demand right here, broke internal back to bullish. So right now I'm just looking at a higher low for a higher high. We had created range demand as well. Right here, this is the refined one. Technically this is it already, because you have structure low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, break. So technically this whole zone is your range demand, where a higher low for a higher high makes sense. But I like this zone more. Let me make it a normal demand. Because you have this, let's see, like this sell to buy and then that nice imbalance above it. So I'm right now looking to see if we can get an entry anywhere around there. It looks like we have a local range to work with. Remind you, this is a internal range. But if we accumulate down here, take the low, preferably a model 1, take that one, then you have an internal accumulation aligning with that idea of forming a higher low for a higher high. So super interested to see if we get something. Inside this level. So let me look if we have some refined demands. So we can see this whole demand, this zone as a demand zone, but we can also refine it more, which I see that we have a 5-minute demand right here, and a deeper one right here. And because this is now basically the range, price is now around the mid-range. So this is the mid-range. So in a range, you want to long discount. And like a rule of thumb is that you don't want to long premium. Everything above your mid-range is premium. Everything below it is discount. So the higher probability longs is always in discount. So that's starting from here. And the lower you go, the better it is. So right now, you cannot really long it from that perspective. But if we come into these levels and we get an accumulation locally, then it's valid to long. But oftentimes, you want some sort of a good retrace. And then we can see that these fib levels align with that lower demand. So like if we accumulate here, and then third tap taps into this local demand, then I will also be interested in the long, but not everything has to be range. So this can also just push down, come down, and then form like just a higher low right here into this demand. So few interesting levels to look at hype. And this, it trades so clean. It's crazy. Instead of a range, I right now just show it like this, take out that low, which also is a bit of similar to an accumulation. But yeah, the way hype trades, it's crazy. Beside that, see Slatan, do you have any high time frame targets for Sol? Ooh. Let's see. We look at the weekly. High time frame targets. Purely technical. We have unmitigated range demand down here at $40. I'm not sure what the future has to bring, but I've seen things like this, where you go to $40, then push back up, and then you don't know what can happen. But yeah, I don't like to give targets. You can, in my opinion, giving price targets on a high time frame, it doesn't make any sense because you can't make guesses. But yeah, what, like if I have a chart, I can say anything about it. But also then it depends a lot on what is structure doing and what is it locally doing. On the low time frame, I have an edge. On the high time frame, I have no idea. But it will be a crazy buy indeed. Crazy buy. Let me first go over some other charts, like FED. This one is holding. We had that super clean model 1, 2, 3, model 1 accumulation, took out the high, so reached its target. And right now, we have kind of this range, where price came down with this sell into this demand, which was clean 3-hour demand. Price aggressively moved into it and then had an aggressive move back up while holding the main range value area high. So that is the level you want to hold. Otherwise, this can also be a distribution or like a peer tree kind of thing. But context-wise, you came out of an accumulation, super clean. Then it's a bit weird for price to deliver such a clean accumulation to directly flow over into a bearish PO3. That would be like max manipulation. Could happen, but for now I'm more interested in the potential long. which is the idea that this can be a potential local bullish PO3. Where this is the manipulation target range high. And this morning I shared it in the group where I wanted to, at least I drew it, like take out this supply, which was clean 1 hour supply. That is now out of the way. If we now get like a slow pullback into this demand break of structure, then I'm really interested in longing this. So depends on how it moves. It can also just push further from here, then it's no trade. But so far it took out supply. Beside that, there's no supply, only more like liquidity. If we now get a slow pullback into this demand, which is super clean, also 1 hour demand, then I'm interested in a long. Something like this invalidation is that low, the target is that high and beyond. This can develop into something nice, if it comes back, of course. Let's see, Ondo in this range, local accumulation right here, but it's already leaving without us. Like this is also a range demand. So you're trending up, high, low, break. So right here you break structure to bullish again. Then this whole zone technically turns into range demand, which more often than not, price eventually likes to test and then push higher. So I have an alert here to see if we're gonna retest this this zone. And because the trend is bullish, this is basically just trading with the trend. And then bullish ring Cs are very powerful. This is your main range, but you have some refined levels within it. Like this is your higher probability zone. So also keeping an eye on that. Beside that, not really, yeah, like hype is interesting. Sol is interesting. Fat is interesting. BTC, yeah, kind of interesting. Gold, interesting. Kind of interesting. I saw a question about what is near, by the way, doing. Oh, by the way, I wanted to talk about BNB. Like I thought, like the push above the range was super strong, but right now it made a full retrace. This is like, and back below the value area high. So this is now just a failed breakout, or like very weird bearish PO3, in which technically the target is the range low again. So CZ did a good job by scam pumping this before selling off, but it does not look good. So could even look what it does from here. Important low there. But if this comes back to the highs, technically that can just be a bearish range play, in which this is your deviation. And that if price comes back up right here, and you show weakness, that can be a move back to the lows. So some alerts there and there. And then quickly looking what near, yeah, guys, crazy strength. We talked about it yesterday where I wanted to long if we mitigated this range demand, but price just front ran that mitigation and just directly pushed into that new high. So the bias was right, but also yeah, like this super nasty move. So there was not even an entry because this move, there was no structure in this leg, and we just front ran the mitigation here. But yeah, this coin is crazy strong. So is there a new demand we can keep an eye on? Yeah, so basically big 12-hour demand. Can it be refined? This looks clean. 1 hour demand. And this is now basically like this is a Rimsey. It just got front ran slightly. But now you get a new pulse from left to right. So this can also be like just a higher low for a higher high. So just an alert there, alert at this liquidity level. Beside that, this is running without us. Last one before I'll close it off is for HTOP. What about ETH? Oh, quick, what is... So Tao, finally, like yesterday we took it long, it failed. We also knew it was against context, low probability to create an accumulation here because there was so much liquidity below. But the room for error was so low, I just had to take it. But right now, like that's also clean what you see. Like directly it took out all that liquidity. And that's just because this liquidity trail, this is nothing but no demand, just a lot of liquidity. So it directly swept all of it. And right now it cleared this low. So we can watch what the reaction is. So far it's a strong move, but it could be the start of a second tap, potentially of this range. But zooming out to the bigger picture, like really high time frame, you can also look at it from like here. Tab 1, this is the 10-10 wick. This is a bit weird, but let's ignore that one. Then we have tab 1, tab 2, and then we have some clean levels down below right here. That demand, and this is the extreme demand. So maybe if the market turns into more shit, I will not be surprised if this comes down here and then puts in like a model 2 or a model 1. But on the high time frame picture, this looks pretty good. So even if we get more pain in the short term, Tao is definitely one I would like to pick up if the opportunity presents itself to pick it up around 160. Why is it a clean PY? Because we have this demand mitigated, and here also like some sort of liquidity trail above it. And this zone also never got retested, so that could happen. ETH, I'm still waiting for ETH to just hit the range lows. Beside that, I'm not interested in trading this piece of garbage. I'm almost getting hate towards ETH, but that does mean that maybe it starts to give opportunity soon. So take out the lows, and I'm gonna just look at it. First this low, this is the last wick, the last sell side liquidity, then the range low. Start accumulating from there, and I will long it if the triggers are there. For now, what is this for chart? Looks like shit. So rather focus on BTC than on this piece of garbage. So BTC tapping now into that level, which means that we have new internal structure, which is now this high. But it's New York. They have been selling lately like crazy. This move is pretty aggressive so far. So needs a clean break. Otherwise, it's likely to go lower. And follow that plan on USDT made earlier. There's a daily and 4-hour unfinished at the bottom of demand. Yeah, like with those things, it always acts as a magnet, but it doesn't have it to take it directly. We have seen it with Tao. Eventually, it will be taken, but such an unfinished candle, like on Tao, we had that monthly, 3 month, weekly, 12-hour, 8-hour, 6-hour, 1 hour, 4-hour unfinished candle, and it stayed there for a few weeks, and then eventually it got taken, but it doesn't have to be right away. But it's always something to keep an eye on because eventually market wants to clear those levels. Which is what I'm now also seeing. Do you guys see this candle? This 1-hour candle, the 2-hour candle, 4-hour candle. This 4-hour candle has barely a wick. So that is also a kind of a level to look at for potential lower high. Like that can also happen. Yeah, let's see. BT in the PY, but I'm not too eager to take it. Also because if we now get the break, which needs to be here, then you are almost already at your mid-range, and the technical target is only your range high of this local model. So RR-wise, it's not the best. Overall, it's not looking too solid. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it, but I will not be surprised if this just goes down. What's gold doing? Yeah, gold also failing to give that break. Yeah, so I have my alerts ready. For now, not much to do. So I will likely just continue with making. First, I'm gonna chill a bit because I've been speaking for a few hours right now. But after that, I will make some new videos, and let's see what happens. So thank you all for tuning in. A lot of people tuned in, which is good to see. I see more and more people each day watching the streams. So each day at 4 hour, you are welcome to join. I will have a few more, like 5 more streams before I go on vacation. So 5 more to rock it. After that, time for a little bit of rest. And then after that, we go full steam ahead again, even harder than we already did. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I see you guys in the Discord as always.